Hi, Blastpop here. Today I'm seeing what's in the box for Kursk, Burnin' Tigers, a Panzer Grenadier game. This is by Mike Perryman. It includes 40 scenarios, 4 boards, 3 sheets of counters, one of which is mostly system counters, a standard rules book, charts and tables, and a scenario book. This is what the cover looks like. It's a slip cover, and this slips over a box to hold the contents of the game, and this gives you a sense of what's in the game. Some of the counters, part of what the map board looks like, and it's got good solitaire suitability. I haven't played Panzer Grenadier in a little while. I used to be a big fan of the series, and the Eastern Front scenarios and the desert scenarios I enjoyed quite a bit, with massive tank battles, and being the fact that this is a Kursk battle game, it definitely scratches the itch for massive tank battles and epic struggles on the Eastern Front. The included box, as you can see, the slip cover goes over, fairly solid. Also included is one die in a baggie. Not sure that baggie is going to hold all the pieces though. Here's the scenario rules, not the scenario, well, the scenario rules as well as the scenarios. And again, there's 40 of them, as I had mentioned. With these many scenarios being published at once, the scenarios generally in the past that I've played have been pretty decent and have been fun. It's hard to guess at how many times each scenario gets played. I do know that I have play tested for Avalanche Press in the past for one of their Pacific war games, and they did seem to take it seriously. So, you know, at least they're getting some play, maybe not to the level of an Avalon Hill game from years ago, where playtesting a scenario was done a great many times prior to publication, especially in the Squad Leader series, Advanced Squad Leader series. Anyway, each scenario gives you a name, its number, the date, map board configuration, a little history, the length of the game, first turn, any other special information, your setup of your forces, like 17 infantry, 5 heavy machine guns, and so on and so forth. Your leadership, that's included, your morale, initiative, off-board artillery, and likewise for the opposition, and in this case, this was for the Soviet forces up here. And each scenario basically follows that format with any reinforcement, any special rules, and victory conditions, all self-contained. The scenarios can take a little while to play, because they're fairly involved. It's simple in terms of gameplay, but there's a lot of it. And there's a set of rules, optional rules called Fog of War, which randomly determines when the end of the game turn occurs, which is nice because it forces you as the player to concentrate on those things that are important, because you don't know quite when the turn's going to end. I remember having used those rules quite a bit and rather much enjoyed it. The 4th edition scenario rules, which I believe is the most recent version. Again, I've been away from it for a little bit, and it includes anything from, you know, what you expect: stacking, movement, leadership, combat, commissars, tank leaders, special leaders, combat. You have bombardment fire, direct fire, anti-tank fire, assault. You got opportunity fire. Then you got the effects of morale, special units. And while there's a lot of pages in the standard rules book, you know, it's actually fairly simple and doesn't create any real issues. The rules have been playtested pretty well over the years, and so consequently, they work well and have worked well for me in the past. Also included in this package are some charts. You have your terrain effects chart explaining what all the different types of terrain does. Unfortunately, that's not really illustrated on the cards. It's been essentially a black and white printout. Some more terrain effects, and then further explanations. Assault chart. Bombardment chart. Direct fire. And how to conduct anti-tank fire. Except for the anti-tank fire, you basically take the appropriate attacking value and compare it to a dice roll, and you have morale checks, step losses, and modified morale checks depending on the severity of the hit. A turn record track, which takes up space. I use a Excel spreadsheet which I can capture all the information needed for the scenario, like the morale values, the initiatives, the turns in play, the use of off-board artillery. It's a lot more handy and doesn't get in the way like this chart. While this chart's nice looking, I never found it to be terribly useful. Counters, front side, Germans, along with some Soviet trucks and aircraft. Die cut, moderate thickness, reverse side. These are the leaders, and that's the number in red is their morale, and then I believe it's melee, and then fire combat value as modifiers, if I'm not mistaken. You have two different leaders, one on each side, and you basically flip them to see what actual piece you actually use out of the ones you draw. And it's drawn randomly. You have your type infantry. You have a little symbol or icon, which doesn't vary too much. Your range is the 3, and your firepower is the 5. 3 up here is the movement. With the tanks, that's the armor value, and the values with a yellow background and red print. The 8 in this case is the range, and 6 is the firepower value, and you compare it to the armor value of an opposing piece. So it would be 6, and say you're firing against this tank here with a value of 3. The 6 versus the 3 is a difference of 3, and it's a modifier to your die roll to determine what happens. The greater difference you have in your favor, the greater chance of adding to the die roll and possibly inflicting casualties. It's a rather nice system. It plays relatively well. Much the same applies to the Soviets. You have guards here. This is your Soviet line troop, so to speak. Militia, grunts, what have you. Whatever term you care to use. Commissars. Commissars are great to keeping units on focus and on task, but at the cost, if not, they're not successful, of inflicting step losses on their own side. Nice little bit of chrome. And the backside here as well. Here we have system counters to keep track of your status, whether you moved and fired, disrupted, mines, and so forth. Very nicely done. Here are the maps. They have a sort of a semi-3D effect, especially when it comes to hills, which this particular map doesn't have. You got maps 40 to 43, which is a total of 4 maps included. It's not bad artwork, at least this map, but nothing fancy. This map shows an elevated area, and it does have a definite 3D effect more than the first map I showed you, number 40. This is number 41. Differences in elevation denoted. Here you have some hills, a town, and some woods. And then finally, another map. While functional, I find these maps are not necessarily, they're semi-generic, so they're meant to fit many different scenarios. So the design is somewhat unsatisfying, but when you get these maps into actual play, it becomes more interesting. The map takes on a life of its own based on the battle and the objectives and the forces involved. Yeah, I have a number of the games in the series by Avalanche Press, which is the publisher of this. I don't pick up a lot of their games anymore because they're not available in stores, and only occasionally do I have the opportunity to pick them up. I won't order directly from the manufacturer because it's a matter of my convenience, and it's not convenient ordering from a lot of different game companies. So I wish they were more online in places that I order from or in the local stores. They're more of a boutique publisher along the way of maybe Critical Hit. But they still put out good products. I'm not going to deny that. And I do like the system quite a bit. You really can't go wrong with the system. It's well play tested, well developed, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. So anyway, this has been Blastpop. Please like, comment, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Bye.